All right. So 2 nights ago from when we're filming this right now, we're on Twitch, YouTube later, went to the highly controversial We Came as Romans Dark Bloom tour. The reason that we're saying it's controversial is because that's the show we've been talking about lately that got canceled a few weeks back due to aggressive security to venue. We've already got a bunch of videos on that. That's not what we're talking about today. I just wanted to talk about like the concert and then something that I noticed while I was at said concert, and that is kind of the problems with hardcore dancing and moshing that I haven't really thought about in a while, and I kind of want to talk about that. But let's talk about the actual show because I was actually pretty damn impressed. We've been talking about it for weeks about like, you know, Bodysnatcher's set and the other bands and stuff. And it was a really fun show, man. The first band that played was Archetypes Collapse. Or is it Collide? I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I've been confusing it for a while. Collide. Archetypes Collide. I'm sorry. I had never listened to any of their music before. If I had to, they kind of reminded me of like a heavier Linkin Park at times, I guess. Pretty entertaining. One thing I noticed during their set was there were definitely some people there specifically for them that were like trying to mosh. But every now and then some hardcore dancers were coming out, you know, and doing their windmills and their kicks and, you know, their two-stepping and stuff, which I found odd because that band wasn't really a two-step windmill picking up change spinning heel kick band. And then Bodysnatcher went on. And I gotta say, I don't listen to a lot of bands like that. I enjoy hardcore, I really do, but I never really got into that scene. But they were fucking good. They put on a really good show. They were entertaining. They got the crowd going. And a ton of hardcore dancers for that. In fact, there was one guy that just had me like smiling and laughing the whole time. So when I go to this venue, I sit up in the balcony. Like, I'm too old to pit. I sit in the balcony because it's got a good view of the floor. It was like, he had to have been like 6'3" for non-freedom unit users. That's about 190 centimeters. Wearing a Bodysnatcher hoodie. He's hardcore dancing, but he's doing it like he's either extremely stoned or really tired. Like, he was just in the pit, like jump around, just going like literally that slow. White hoodie guy. He's just pacing around all night, kind of just lazily like throwing his arms everywhere and stuff. Yeah, he was just like this the whole night. Just like lazily just fucking two-stepping around and shit. And it was so funny because there were other people that were going hard. Like there were other people that were taking it so seriously, and like this dude's just whoever that guy is, if he ever sees this, I love you. But I don't think he was drunk. No, he was a Bodysnatcher fan. He was wearing one of their hoodies. He was just a chill hardcore dancer. But what I will say, and this is the only thing I'll reference to the security incident where the show got shut down because of hardcore dancing at another show on this tour, at the Providence show. No problems, dude. There were no problems whatsoever. Multiple hardcore dancers, a lot of crowd surfing. Security had like 4 people in the barricade. They were catching people, no problem. There were no security going into the pit. Like the venue just like let them do their thing and like enforce themselves. And there were no problems. Like there were people falling and people picking them up. Like now a Nashville crowd is probably very different from a Providence, Rhode Island crowd, like for sure, but no issues whatsoever. Emmure played next. And I will say, in my opinion, out of everybody that night, Emmure had the wildest crowd. In terms of just pure energy, I wouldn't say like pit, just pure energy. Like that crowd was really, really into Emmure. There was actually surprisingly more like old school traditional like push pit moshing than hardcore dancing for Emmure. I was actually surprised by that. There were some people coming out to hardcore dance, but there were people that were just push pitting and circle pitting. Emmure kind of blew me away. I'm not going to lie. I haven't seen that band in like 15 years. When I worked at a venue and they were way smaller, and all their fans were just like kicking holes in the wall and like they just beat down hardcore stuff. Their show was fantastic. The sound was awesome. Sam, We Came as Romans front of house engineer, did sound for Emmure, and it was fantastic. Their energy on stage was great. And the one thing that I will say, and I feel like an asshole for this, I forgot that Joshua Travis is in Emmure. I'm watching the show from the balcony, and the guitar player for Emmure is like got a hoodie on, and he's got his hood up over his head, and he's rocking out. And I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, that guitar player is having such a good time. And then I'm like, damn, that guitar player's rocking a 9-string. And then at one point, his hood comes off, and I'm like, I forgot Josh Travis is in this band. And like, for those of you that don't know, Joshua Travis, guitar player, also Twitch streamer, YouTuber. Like we've talked on Nick Nocturnal stream and stuff. Like absolutely super nice, fantastic guy. And I started like just watching him rocking out. And at one point, he sees me in the balcony and just fucking points at me and starts smiling. And I'm like, oh, what a guy. After the show, I went out and fucking met him in person and gave him a hug and talked to him for a little bit, like super nice. And then We Came as Romans. I mean, they're the headliner. There's nothing really needs to be said. Their show was fucking great. Production was sick. Band was super tight. Their singer is really good live. Like, I was actually kind of blown away by how good he was live. I will say though, I actually thought the crowd went crazier for Emmure. Not that they were bad for We Came as Romans by any means. They were just wild for Emmure. With that whole recap, and I got to see a lot of friends. Like, I ran into some of you guys from stream that were there. I ran into some friends I haven't seen in a while. But now that we're past this recap, there was something I noticed at the show that I want to talk about. And it's kind of like the problem of having hardcore and metalcore. I was going to say on the same bill, but I guess the problem more is having a crowd that half of them want to hardcore dance and half of them want to mosh. There needs to be a lot more awareness from both parties about what is going on. And I'll start at the hardcore dancing. Like I said, during the opener, there were a handful of hardcore dancers that were coming out. You know, there were a couple times where they like hit the outside of the pit, and I'm watching all the people and I could notice there were people in there that were not expecting that. For the openers, there were some teenagers in there. There were some people with parents. Like, I saw some older people. By that, I mean like 60s, like in the crowd. At one point, there was like this older guy that got hit by a hardcore dancer, and you could see the look on his face. He was like, what the fuck? Like, not expecting that at all. And what I was kind of thinking in that moment was like, see, this is an issue with hardcore dancers coming to a show where people are just wanting to mosh. You got to be aware of the rest of the crowd. If you're there to dance, that's cool, whatever. I've said this many times. I don't really necessarily like hardcore dancing, and I don't participate, but I respect the community. I respect the culture. It's a scene. People think when we moshed when we were kids, we were dumb. So while I don't partake in hardcore dancing, like, it's a thing and I'm aware of it. That's why when I was younger and I went to shows, I did not go in pits where there was hardcore dancing. But if you're there to support one of the openers of a headliner that's not a hardcore band, you need to be aware of that crowd. Or if there are teenagers, like clearly wanting to mosh pit for an opening band, you know, you don't really want to go in there and start hardcore dancing when there's kids that are clearly just trying to push pit and have fun, you know? I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, if you're a hardcore dancer, that's cool, but like, be aware of the bands in the crowd that are there. Because some of those people clearly did not want to partake in hardcore dancing. It was evident by some of the hardcore dancers that came out there. The second they came out there and started swinging, like, people fucking bailing because they're like, no, we don't want to do this. We just want to push pit. So I say that all as like respect to the headliners crowd. But on the flip side, don't worry, hardcore kids, I'm not just coming at you. I'm coming for the metalheads too. And I'm a metalhead. To all you metalheads out there that do like traditional push pits and stuff, you guys also need to be aware of the bands that are on the bill. Because like I said, I noticed there were some like kind of teenage age kids there that were there, clearly there for the openers and for We Came as Romans, more metalcore type bands. And when Bodysnatcher started playing, all the hardcore dancers came out. But then those same kids that just wanted to mosh like traditional push pit, they kept coming out and trying to start pits and were like clearly freaking out when people started hardcore dancing. Knowing that hardcore dancing and push pitting is a thing, and that tour had a combination of both types of bands, like, you need to be aware of what kind of bands are on those bills. Like, I saw like moms and stuff in the middle of the, like, walking through the crowd when Bodysnatcher was playing, and I was like, somebody's gonna get fucking hit. Like, I just saw in chat, somebody just said, yeah, don't push pit during Bodysnatcher. Pretty simple. But if you know that a band is a hardcore band, and that their crowd is going to be dancing, you need to be aware of that too. The reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of hate gets thrown at hardcore dancers. A lot. And a lot of people confuse it with crowd killing, which is different. I've always said that. If a hardcore band is playing, don't think you can just wade through the pit and possibly like not get hit and they need to stay away from you. But I will say, there was one moment during the show, during Emmure's set, that was kind of a wild, interesting blend of both scenes. Half of the pit towards the front of the stage was like push pitting, like the teenage age kids and some other metalheads that were just like push pit. And then there was like a line of hardcore dancers behind them just going. And at one point I was like, wow, this is a wild blend of like both worlds just coming together in harmony. I also see in chat that somebody just said metalcore is a gray line. That is very true. But most bands have their reputations of what their crowds are. I know if I'm going to a Hatebreed show, I'm not going near the pit. I'll tell you that right now. Same as if I go to an Emmure or a fucking Bodysnatcher show or set, I'm not going in the pit because I don't want to take the risk of getting fucking hit by somebody dancing. Dinky in chat just said, I was at the Columbia, South Carolina show and the Bodysnatcher vocalist called everyone in the pit a bunch of potatoes because no one was dancing or moshing. Oh my God. He actually said something hilarious during the start of their set too. And I wrote it down in my notes because it was so funny at the time. There were times where during Bodysnatcher's set, even though there were dancers there, their singer was calling for people to like open up the pit and get going. And there were times where nobody was doing anything. And between songs, he goes, it's like we're at a senior home and all you people are 87 fucking years old. I was laughing pretty hard at that. I will say that those crowds were nowhere near as bad as I was led to believe they were going to be from that show getting canceled in Providence, Rhode Island. It just did not look like a problem to me at all. Now, again, the crowd in Nashville is way different than a crowd in Providence, Rhode Island. The East Coast, New England area is known for more hardcore and hardcore dancing and stuff. But it's just funny that we talked about that for so long. And then I saw it in person and I was like, this is not really that big of a deal. But anyways, that was just something I noticed while I was at the show. Just, I guess, be aware of your surroundings at shows is like the biggest lesson from that. Hardcore dancing is a thing, whether you like it or not. Moshing is a thing, whether you like it or not. Be aware of the cultures. Be aware of the show you're going to. If you see hardcore dancers and you don't want any part of it, move away from the pit. That's pretty much it. So thank you to everybody that's on Twitch for being here just to hear me rant here for a second. If you're on YouTube and watching this later, you can join us at twitch.tv/TankTheTech. We're always on talking about stuff. My handle on just about everything is at TankTheTech. But until next time, wherever you are in the world, be safe, be kind to each other. I love you all. I'll be back very soon with another video.